Thank you for that gracious introduction. Thank you to the steering committee and board for inviting me to address my LGBT friends, family, and allies. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else who doesn't identify that way, you are dedicated to a common goal, equality. You are clearly committed to keeping marriage for same-sex couples a reality in California. Equal marriage is a national priority. And we transgender people hope that you will help us be seen as equal and as a national priority as well. Tonight, I hope to accomplish three things. First, I want to intensify your commitment to transgender inclusion and to affirm that our lives matter. Our need is urgent. Our employment is at risk. Our health care is at risk. Our lives are at risk. You only have to look right here in California, where the lives of Gwen Araujo and Lawrence King were taken simply because of who they were. I urge you to help that change in that landscape, help us make that different. Second, I want to explain a little of the frustration of my trans brothers and sisters, ally colleagues and compadres in California, and what they're talking about, what they're singing about, what they're chanting about, and what they're standing about across the street. Third, I want to talk about what HRC is doing and what more HRC and we all need to do to show our commitment to the full inclusion of trans people in our community. It's always a pleasure to be at the Westin St. Francis. My first professional hotel stay was here at the St. Francis for the Coca-Cola Bottlers Convention in 1979. 10 years later, I was on the Holiday Inn corporate jet returning to Memphis after a Mexico City business trip with the company president. He had arranged for us to listen to the World Series, which, as you know, that year featured the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants. The rivalry was hot, the language fierce, and the energy electric. But in 15 seconds, baseball became a second priority, because on October 17th, 1989, Game 3 was interrupted by the quake of '89. I was immediately diverted to San Francisco for the next 6 months to help our hotels feed and house people from all of the neighborhoods that were affected by the quake. People with A's baseball caps worked alongside people in Giants caps. They recognized their common need and realized that no one was dedicated to getting the work done as much as people with skin in the game, no matter what cap they wore. Let us use that example from right here in our own community, starting now, regardless of whether we are LGBT people or allies. I'd like to focus on the letter T in LGBT. Why? For one thing, we are excluded from the first wave of ENDA legislation, while our rate of job loss and job demotion is documentable, and it's rising. Congress tells us that we are less than human to let a bill pass that has only sexual orientation for non-discrimination in employment. We feel left behind because we are left behind. But fingers often point, we are. That is the message of my family members across the street. And I'm saddened that I have to be in one place and not another. But this commitment is to you and to my community. Fingers are often pointed at influencers, not decision makers. There is no reason for anyone to feel good about a bill that's not inclusive. HRC wishes it wasn't so. We wish it were different. But we need to play the hand we were dealt and move forward now. Until there's an end that protects us all, there is still the desperate need for work. And that's where people like you, who contribute to HRC, get to see multiple arenas in which money supports programs that help us navigate reality until our dream of inclusion can be true. And we all want that to be true as soon as it can be. We have greater opportunities ahead with a new president and hopefully a more pro-equality Senate and House in January. HRC has endorsed Senator Obama, who, if elected, has already expressed his support for a fully inclusive ENDA, one bill, everybody. That would leave no one behind, not me, not you, and not my friends and brothers and sisters across the street. Just last month, I was honored to testify before Congress in an historic hearing about the need for gender identity and expression inclusion in federal non-discrimination laws relative to employment. When I testified, I needed the whole team, ACLU, HRC, NCLR, NCTE, and the task force to be connected, prepared, rehearsed, and successful. In my testimony, I talked about my friend and brother, Ethan St. Pierre, an extremely qualified employee who lost his job for no other reason than because he identified as transgender, and he was brave and honest and disclosed it. There are countless other stories of transgender people like my brother Ethan. These people are real. Their lives matter. And yet transgender people have to negotiate for inclusion while our lives are at highest risk in our community. If that reality is going to change, it's going to take every one of us. And that is why this week in an op-ed in the Bay Area Reporter, I asked readers who have jobs to donate 1/4 of their vacation time to contacting Congress about gender identity and expression in ENDA. I'm asking you to do that too. And I'm asking you to ask your friends in other states across the country to do that. If we all help, we can have an ENDA and other fairness protections in law that recognize gender identity and expression sooner. Despite what you might see sometimes, Joe Salmonese is helping to do his part to pass a fully inclusive ENDA. He is dedicating his expertise and mobilizing his staff in every way that HRC can. There's more work to do. For example, the Corporate Equality Index today is not a tool for trans people like me to know if an employer will provide full medical and health benefits. That has to change too. I know that Joe's taken some licks, and I want to make clear that all the gains that I've just talked about have been on his watch. Things mentioned as needing improvement are already on Joe's radar right now. And it's under his command that HRC recently hired Allison Robinson, a transgender woman, as Associate Director of Diversity to focus on trans issues for HRC. She's already had key meetings and involvements in trans issues, and she's met with trans people nationally and in local markets. And she just completed her second week. That is real progress, and thanks to Joe's leadership and bringing her on board. It's not just, though, about his public leadership, but it's also in whom I know Joe to be. He's a person, not just a president. He's the kind of person who participated here in the AIDS life cycle from San Francisco to LA. While he was on that ride, he took a break to participate in the LGBT conference call for Obama with 100 miles left to ride. I would have needed a nap, but not Joe. And that's the kind of determination we need leading the fight for our community, all of us in this community. And at this time, I would like to have you please join me to watch a brief video showing Joe and the HRC team in action.